Coming to you from the mountain fortress of pop culture. You're listening to Time to Talk.
Let me tell you, people are mean to each other, but no voices are as mean as our own voices are.
Yes, you are in the fortress of pop culture, where we heroically fight to keep pop alive. In a world filled with... and Chad, wait for this list, okay? You're going to like it. In a world filled with horror, dread, nastiness, and black. But that's enough about Taylor Swift and her fan base. We are here today to learn. I'm here to learn, at least. I don't know how I've never heard of this one. It just slipped through. But I've just finished a few listens of Paula Abdul's Head Over Heels album. It's a generally unoriginal little piece of work that curiously comes with an instruction manual that allegedly teaches you how to be sexy. It's quite strange. I am joined by our Chad and our Sarah today to walk through this one. G'day, both of you.
Hello.
Hi. Good to have you on the line. Now, I know that it's already controversial because you both love this album, and so I have been dedicated. I went and listened to it. But before we get into it, Chad, how's your single going?
Well, it's not out yet, but it's going really, really well because it comes out the 11th. So I'm super excited for Horizon to come out.
Perfect.
Ooh,
yes.
Exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sarah.
And Sarah, people may remember you from such podcasts as Madonna's Music. I think you were in that one, right?
Yeah, I did music. I did American Life. You know, I always come with the controversial opinions, Tim. So it's no surprise I'm here.
You were on the ones I wasn't on.
Yeah. Oh my God, no way.
I'm glad to be on one with you now.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, it's been a long time, Sarah. And you know, we do get messages about you. Because people, when they listen to our older podcasts, they still think maybe we just recorded them recently because podcasts have no life, no expiry date sort of thing. So we from time to time get people saying, "Are you getting Sarah back on the show?"
Oh my God, really?
Absolutely.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you to everyone then.
So it's good to have you on. Okay, so listen, this album, I mean, Chad, even the title's wrong. I just don't get this. I really don't. I mean, we'll go back a step. I'll have my rave, and then I'll be quiet and let you defend it. We have this amazing album that we spoke about in the last podcast, Forever Your Girl, and I absolutely loved Crazy Cool. I remember that single coming out, and I was like, because that is a phenomenal song. But the title, why Head Over Heels? There's not even a track called Head Over Heels. There's no theme linking it to that expression. And I've got to say, it also seems a little crass when you consider that it was a series of falls that actually contributed to her lifetime of chronic pain. What was she thinking?
Yeah, I have no idea. I actually have no idea why it's called that. I've never questioned it, but I just have, this album's been in my life for so long that I never question it. But what do you think, Sarah?
I feel like I was also questioning it because I was like looking at interviews and like trying to figure out why she calls it this. But for me personally, it like when you go through this album, it's kind of like a wild card in a way where it goes from fast to slow, and like fast being all in your head, and then slower getting on your heels to be more grounded, you know? So that's how I interpret the album, at least.
She's got some weird titles, right? Because you were the one that introduced me to her unrecorded fourth album that I was just like researching before this because you mentioned it. And it was supposedly going to be called Politics of Love, which is a terrible title.
Politics instead of politics?
Yes.
Oh, give me a break.
Literally.
I don't know. That's what she wanted to call her fourth one, which never came out. So.
Oh, well, thank God for that. Politics. Oh, no. Oh,
It
Yeah.
was
terrible.
also going to be like an album recorded with Nile Rodgers, and she was doing some recordings in '97, and then that got scrapped. And then I think in 2001 is when she came up with that title. I think she was like at Virgin Records at that point. So
But she's not even a political figure, so I don't understand.
She shouldn't be allowed to name her own albums, but the first two albums have incredibly iconic, amazing names. So
So take me through it. When was this released? What's it all about? What can you educate me in here?
well, it was released like June 13th, 1995. It was known as a comeback album at the time because she took a break from music. And she stated it in '94 that she was taking a break from music. When then months later she started recording new music again. It was after her divorce from that Italian man. I don't remember.
Emilio
Emilio.
Estevez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him.
And
And
her bulimia stuff.
yeah, I find it's my favorite actually of her albums, if I'm being honest. Um, just because it's so different. I find it to be experimental, R&B, pop, and funk, and a bunch of
Yeah.
different genres. I think that was what she liked doing, and other elements combined, and that's what I think the beauty of this album is.
Yes, totally. I'm gonna back you up on that. I love this album. I think it's great. It may not. I think hearing it now, you heard it for the first time now,
Mm.
which is totally different than hearing it in its heyday of the mid '90s when it was actually edgy and so cool. And the production value is incredible. Her vocals are incredible. I mean, there's a lot to love on this album, but I think it may not have aged as well as her other works, all things considered, because it was so different than, it was such a experimental, like you said, Sarah.
I think as well, like for me, like I don't think it's necessarily like it aged that badly because to me, this comes off as more of like a timeless album in my opinion, um, compared to our others where I don't when I listen to this, I don't know what era I'm really listening to. But then again, as well, the mid '90s for music was a confusing era in general, and I feel there is some confusion fused into this album. Whereas her other two prior works, you can tell are '80s albums or early '90s albums. You know what time
Right.
period they came from, whereas this you don't really know.
I could pick the year exactly on the dot. I picked 95 because it sounds like a pretty pale carbon copy of everything that was going on around that time. It feels like they've lifted the sound of that year and tried to infuse it through, but they just haven't pulled it off. That's what it sounded like to me. I could hear bedtime stories. I could hear Janet.
Hmm.
I could hear Jeremy Jordan. I could hear every person of around that time, which is not a criticism because that's what you do. You try to be of the
Yeah.
time. But in terms of it aging, um, look, I've got a problem with that in general with music. I don't think music really ages anyway. But I can, in terms of being timeless, which is what you said, I don't agree because I picked the year.
Okay.
There's parts of it that feel timeless. It's hard to put into words though, but like My Love Is For Real is one of my favorite songs of Paula across any of her albums. I just think it's so amazing. The video is like a tour de force. It's like incredible. She looks like $1,000,000. I mean, there's definitely some high points to the album.
All
Yeah.
right. Do you want a
Yeah.
visual, which is going to probably gross you both out?
Go for it.
Yeah,
Silence.
go.
They're like, no thanks. Yeah, it's winter time here, and yeah, I just got right under the dunas and put this on a really awesome speaker, and I pulled out notes on my phone and just was listening to this, playing a few games, doing a little bit of work, and I listened to this 3 times over this morning.
Wow.
And yeah, so I've got notes in front of me, so we can do track by track if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's do
crazy
it.
cool. I was obsessed with this when it came out. Like, this is crazy cool. Like, sometimes you come up with your title as a writer of music and you make the song live up to the title. And I think that's probably what they did. She probably wanted a crazy cool song or whoever wrote it. And that's what they've come up with. It's so awesome. It's got lots of curiosities in it. It's not too repetitive. It takes you off into slightly different places. The production is amazing. The video clip from memory is all blue, and I think she had a blue disco stick, maybe. I'm trying to remember. This is going back a long time.
Yep, a cane.
She has that the like shorter hair in this,
Yes,
which she
that's the
hasn't
one.
had before.
Right, yes. A little bit of yeah, look, just very Janet inspired too, I
Yeah.
thought too, the look at least. So that's my take on Crazy Cool. I'm obsessed, and I'm just looking up now. There are a million mixes, which I'm so excited to go and listen to today. I never knew there were mixes of this song.
Yeah, I this is my like favorite Paula song actually ever, to be honest. Like it's just one I can just play forever and ever. And they're like on my like Spotify list. It's like the most played song for like 2019, 2020 because I
Oh my
just
gosh.
enjoy it. And I think my favorite mix is just the single mix in general. I prefer it more so over the album version. And like you said, like the video is just so beautiful. It's that beautiful like blue aesthetic around, and it's also more of like sexy Paula, and that's like I feel like this is like the sexiest she gets in her music. And this video I believe was banned on MTV
What?
for her pulling. She was like, because she was like pouring like beer over her breasts and stuff.
Oh, give me a
Champagne,
break.
right?
Yeah, champagne.
Popping the cork and, the whole visual.
Yeah.
How scandalous! How awful! As if we all haven't
Yeah.
done that.
And then her, of course, like dancing around the pole and stuff. And there it was funny. It's funny. The funniest performance of it is when she performs it on Nickelodeon's Big Help, this song, and she still has like the cane and everything, but
Hmm.
then there's parts of the song that are like censored out for it.
Chad, I've got to say, every sexy, in inverted commas, female pop act of the 90s has done this move in a video clip or a live performance when they're trying to denote sexiness. It
Right.
involves taking something very long and phallic, putting it between your legs, holding it at the
Hmm.
front and at the back, and then gyrating over it. Every one of them
Yeah.
have done it, and comes up in spades here, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I immediately recall Madonna in Erotica at
yes.
the opening of Girly Show Tour with the crop, where she kind of does that as well, which was a few years before this one. But I love this music video as well. I love the song, but I really love the music video. And I think like her cleavage is amazing. There's a great look where she has long extensions and she's got like the extreme smoky eye, and she looks awesome in it. She looks like in really great shape. So
I'll go back to my visual for you both. Then we skip to track 2. Now, I have a feeling that this must have been big. Can you give me the name so that I can find it?
My Love
My
Is
love
For
is
Real.
My Love
It
Is
was
For
the
Real.
only top 40 single. It peaked at number 28 on Billboard Hot 100.
Okay, so I'm listening to this album in prep for this, and I must admit, I'm really like, even Crazy Cool, it sounded like, because I haven't heard it in years, it was like, this is phenomenal. Track 2 comes on and it starts right with this mystical, maybe Egyptian or Middle Eastern. It's, oh God, I just thought this album's going to be a corker, because this is,
No.
it was goosebumps. And I'm like, okay, I'm so glad these guys have put me onto this. And then it drops into the track. And I go, and I almost leapt out of bed. And if I wasn't so old and my back and all that, I probably would have. I had one of Paula's canes. And I went, this is Janet Jackson's If. What is she doing? This is a disgrace. This is absolutely devastating. You could sing If over the top of it. It is the same production, the same beat. You can literally sing If over it. And isn't the word if in the title of this? What's it called again? Sorry?
My Love Is For Real.
My love is for real.
Okay, well, I think she uses the word if in it then somewhere. And I'm thinking, this is
At some
absolutely
point.
outrageous.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of both of those songs, and I listened to both of those songs all the time in the 90s, and I never made that connection. So I don't know. I don't hear it. I can now that you say it, but I don't think it was that obvious. I mean, I don't know.
okay.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
me
just too
either.
in love. But maybe I'm just too in love with this song and this video. But yeah, I don't
And do
hear
you know
it as
what's
much.
even worse, Chad? All she did to make it slightly different from If was they just a few little, those eyedroppers with ointments and stuff. She just added a little bit of erotica in there. That's all. And that's how they got this.
Well, it's like you said, it's Middle Eastern, and If was like a whole Japanese aesthetic in the video, which I know not sonically, but in the video, and but the beat, yeah, definitely I can hear it in the beat.
Yeah.
Sarah, I've got to say, this has always amused me because I love pop music and I take it actually quite seriously when it's done well. But I've always had this little idea of when there's, like in erotica, those yearning sounds in the background, and there's yearning sounds in this track as well. I always try to, I can't help it, and I shouldn't because it's wrong, but I imagine them in the studio doing them, and I think it would be quite amusing. Like, how do you think they get those all that sort of stuff? Like, how would you take yourself seriously with everyone in the mixing box and you're in a little glass chamber and they go, right, you're on, and you have to do that?
I feel like they're in their own element. I feel like they just ignore it. You'd have to like do this blindfolded, I feel like. To be honest with you, like on those types of songs like erotica and throb especially.
Yeah.
On this one it was done by another vocalist named Ofra Haza, who did those types of vocals on here. This wasn't Paula doing it.
Oh.
Yep. This was more like a featuring because she was not just a session singer. Afra was like a Grammy Award winning Israeli singer, really known not in the US, but in other parts of the world. So her name's like on there and stuff. It's not like they're trying to, but I think the casual listener just assumes it's Paula, actually.
Wow. Yeah, well, I wouldn't have known. That's for sure.
One of my all-time favorite music videos in history. It's got to be in my top 5. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a movie. Like it feels like done in, I believe it was filmed in Morocco.
Yeah, it's so cinematic. It was filmed in Morocco. You can find some like behind the scenes stuff, which I'm sure you guys have seen, but for anyone listening, there's some cool like making of stuff out there on YouTube and stuff, but it's extremely cinematic and had, actors, characters, and Paula had done a lot of choreography for movies, like Coming to America and other movies.
Yes.
So she was well versed in choreographing these like big, lush scenes, for lack of a better word, for like, for the camera. So I think it was like a match made in heaven. And the song is awesome for a video. And she looked amazing. And I always thought at the time she kind of looked like Carmen Electra a little bit in the video. I don't know, but she's just beautiful in it. I mean, ridiculous.
And like, I think it's honestly like her best video because it's just the production value is very high in it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the cultural implications as well from her own background, which adds like a bit of a personalized touch to it.
Yeah.
It was also directed by Michael Hussman, who did the Take a Bow music video by Madonna.
Oh. I'll say something controversial. My Love Is For Real is a better music video than Take a Bow.
Ooh.
It's that good. And for me to say something's better than a Madonna video, that's like super high praise. But it's way cooler.
I'm a Madonna like stan myself, so I love Take a Bow. It's one of my favorite songs, but I agree with that just because there's just so many more elements to this music video, and the choreography is amazing as well. So,
well, if any of you out there are like me and haven't seen this video clip or know this song inside out, we have been inspired to go and YouTube it now. I can tell you, I can't wait to go and see it. Sounds amazing. Better than Take a Bow. I'm going to be coming back to you that, Chad.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for you to see this. Let's pause and you can go watch it right now.
I just want to know, were any bulls harmed in the making of this video?
None.
No, there's no bulls.
Well, it's even better already. Then.
Only men.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds intriguing. So, yeah, it's a great track. I'm just looking a few bits and pieces up while you guys are talking. And she says, the quote she said is, in this period, I was so sad. I just needed to be filled up. It was like I was trying to fill this big, empty hole. which is a rather unfortunate choice of words, I've got to say, but I think I take the sentiment.
Well, I remember at the time I was a huge, still a super huge fan of hers and couldn't believe that she had a new album coming out. But I remember being in the supermarket and seeing that a lot of the coverage of the album was way overshadowed by like her coming out with the bulimia story, which I think is an important story and all of that, but it just totally overshadowed the album because they kind of, it seemed like the stuff of her that was more tabloid was getting picked up and not the actual art, like the album, the content.
When stars talk about things like bulimia and things like that, does it resonate with the fan group at all? Do people relate? Is, I don't know, eating disorders and stuff like that?
Yeah, I feel like people weren't talking about it as much. And actually, she should get some credit for being one of the first to really come out.
So Princess Diana, right? Actually, anorexia was sort of well known, just in the general public domain. I'm talking about bulimia was
Right.
quite most people hadn't even heard the word at this time. Everyone knows it now. At the time, it was like, what's bulimia? A lot of people were like, what's that? And how's that different from anorexia? Princess Diana, in her interview, acknowledged bulimia. And then all of a sudden, there was a public reference to it. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Paula Abdul, was one of the first to bring this topic up.
Especially in music. I can't think of another female artist. And I feel like it was, like I said, a distraction, but also just, it wasn't a flattering story. And in a way, I think it was consumed more as like gossip than it was as something that would help other people and people would relate to and I guess learn from. I mean, hopefully it did help some people because I think that was her goal. But I just saw it as more of a tabloidy thing of people being like, oh, because there were those stories about her struggling with weight or being overweight. And then now this bulimia story is coming out. And yeah.
I think like when an artist like puts out like a personal like story like this, usually it's just like sometimes they want it for the moment, or sometimes they want to bring it into their art somehow. But usually people are attracted to scandal more so than artwork itself. And that's like, for example, with like the erotica era with Madonna, people were more with like the sex book scandal and what she's doing in there rather than the music itself. And that can be problematic. And I think that's what's going on here a lot, because when you look at the interviews from this era, a lot of them have to do with bulimia, but never about the work itself.
We moved to track number 3, and to me, this is the first mistake on the album. The complete rip-off of track 2 didn't overshadow the fact that it's a great track. I love track 1 and 2 on this album. Track number 3 is absolutely bizarre and the biggest mistake so far on the album, because you don't take the listener from track 1 and 2, dramatic, cool, sexual, sophisticated, really, and then you take it to this. You go to some Looney Tunes fun parlor. All of a sudden, you're like, "What the hell? This is so jarring." I'm on a journey, and I think I know where Paul is heading. Then all of a sudden, you're in this crazy cuckoo house.
I love that it's weird, that it's not, that you don't know why we're here. It was a song that I didn't like at first either, but over time, I grew to love it. I think it's a fun, just dance track. I love the vocals of Color Me Bad in this as well. As for the music video, I find it to be just like
This was
kind of like a
single?
cheap music. Yeah, this was her last single, actually.
The third and last,
worse.
yep.
Yeah, and it had a music video too.
Yeah, crazy people. What about All About Feeling Good? There's track number 3. If you wanted to reorder this, All About Feeling Good, track number 3, done.
I think it's kind of cool, like what Sarah's saying, that it's such a mixed bag of an album. Like you have all these different sides to her. And to me, that speaks to her being more sophisticated by this point, because this is really like a funky song. That's how I see it, is way more like R&B, way more funk. And that was never, my thing was always more the dance stuff, but I respected it as solid in this other genre. And it was just kind of cool to see a little bit more hip hop or something else come in.
It's a fun song. that is it's kind of mindless in a way. I also love the colors she wore. She only performed this once ever on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. It was never performed on her residency. It's the only single that I think she's ever performed only once ever. And the choreo was really weird for it. I think they were also the reason why this was picked as a single too was that "Color Me Bad" was featured in it, so they were trying to. She was trying to like capitalize on the fame of "Color Me Bad" in a way, and because the album was already have not as high charting as before, she was hoping maybe this would bring it up.
Track number 4, "Love Don't Come Easy." Now, this is what I meant when I said Jeremy Jordan knockoff. And by the way, when I'm saying all these things, I actually think every song, there's no bad songs on this album per se. I just think some of them are a little bit contrived and carbon copy of the 90s style. This has got a bit of a Guatemalan influence here and there. Yeah, but it's nothing special though, is it?
I like this one a lot, and I like it a lot more than Ain't Never Gonna Give You Up. I really like the lyrics of this and the story that it tells. Like I really got down with it for some reason. I just really like the lyrics, the way the lyrics are delivered. So for me, it's all about like the lyrics and vocals in this.
But what story does it tell?
Well, like they're at the cantina. She's watching the guy dance. She's thinking of what, it would be like to be with him. But the way it's said and the way it's described and the lyrics that are chosen are so evocative that it's like it really puts you in that room with them.
It's a fun song and everything. It's one I don't really go out of my way to listen to. It's more of like an album track to me, just in my opinion, but it's not one I like dislike or anything. It was also, I also heard that this was apparently a fourth single contender. I don't know if that would have been the choice, but
there's some cool little like instrumental audio things going on where it like goes into like 20s music or something for a hot minute.
Yes.
And I just thought that was creative and cool.
And all of those influences, because I noticed that too, lots of flapper music, the 20s and stuff like that. I felt like that was a deliberate reference to dance of that day too. And she's a dancer.
Yeah.
That was my interpretation of that, I have to say. So before I was trying to say, doesn't she use the word "if" on that rip-off song, track number 2? This was where my mind was blown, completely blown. Not only did she rip it off, it was later. She has a song called "If I Were Your Girl." Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to think of. I was like, are you serious? You rip it off in another track and then you secretly throw in the name of it later. This is a conspiracy, I'm telling you. There's something going on.
A rip-off of a rip-off.
She didn't know what Janet was doing. She's in her own world.
Oh, come on, Chad. She choreographed the woman.
I know. No, you're right.
Cut her hair, smoky eyes. She just was actually just looking through the Janet Fan Club magazine, I reckon, when she made this album.
I never thought that once. It's amazing that you're ruining the album for me, Tim.
Yeah, you just like mind blow me because I never thought about that until today. Now I'm never gonna see certain songs the same again, Tim.
Well, why a podcast like this always works well when you've got someone who hasn't heard it before, because you get that fresh interpretation. Yep. It's interesting with ballads.
I like that.
I don't know why this is the case, but often with ballad, well, not that this not quite a ballad, "If I Were Your Girl," but there's often fewer writers, either one or just two. And here, like, she's got a dozen writers on every song, or half a dozen. On track 5, it's only 2 people put this together. This is a nice song, I guess. It's mid-tempos. One thing I did notice about this track is, though, poor old Paula, she had, if there's a dial from 1 to 10 about how much you want to alter your voice to make sure it sounds good, she's got the knob turned right up to 10 on this one.
Really? I think it sounds pretty natural.
Oh, no.
I was going to say it's her best vocal on the album, but well.
Yes, and that's why.
No, I think it's because of her high note in it. Okay. It's really good.
Yeah. I didn't think there was anything on her voice either. Like
I never thought that, but
that never went to my mind with this song.
Leave us a comment, people. Have I been scandalous? Am I wrong? I'm not saying it's for Coda, like Cher or anything like that. I'm just saying that there is absolute, like, sophisticated auto-tune on this, like, and reverb like you wouldn't believe.
all that stuff had like just come out like this year. So I mean, you could be right totally, but when you had never heard this before.
And the other reason that I know that it's up high, if I'm going to be honest, is because I've seen her sing live, and she is a good singer. She's adequate. She's fine, but she can't sing like you can on. This is beautiful. It's beautiful, isn't it? Like you say, her best vocals on the album.
It is. Were you? I was impressed with her vocals on this coming off the first two albums because I think it's a step up for her. I mean, did you get that sense at all, or were you just like, no, it's just studio magic?
Exactly. I was thinking it is beautiful. I'm not arguing that point at all, but it's too beautiful for Paula to have achieved it without some assistance.
I don't know if I agree with that completely. Certainly there's some assistance, but I think that she was only a few years out from like Spellbound. Spellbound was what, 92? So this is like 3-4 years later from Spellbound. And I think that she was still like super in her element vocally. And then as we know, because of a lot of injuries and other problems, she's lost her voice basically, which she even says. But so I just always held this as a time capsule of the peak of her vocals of her whole career. And especially the line when she says, I don't know why you're there because something isn't right. And she goes all the way up high. I just love that. Like beautiful. Sometimes I'll just rewind that one line and I'll be like, I just need to hear that one more time because it's so good.
This was actually the one that she was going to be the fourth single. The one before was just a contender, but this was supposed to be the fourth single. It was just canceled because of low charts on the previous one.
We move through to the next track, which is so odd. This is the most odd thing I've heard in a long time. Now, hang on. I'm going to ask you a question. This might be a bit personal, right? The song's called Sexy Thoughts, right? And it's basically an instruction manual as far as I can tell. Chad and Sarah, it might get personal. Feel free not to answer these questions. But have you ever been, in one of those romantic moments and you're, showing a bit of shoulder, bit of leg, bit of this, bit of that. You're doing the dance of love, right? And according to Paula, though, she says if you love yourself, you should be first of all throwing your hands in the air, which I thought, that's a bit odd. So you're in the shoulder and the leg, and now all of a sudden you're doing jazz hands. Okay, fair enough. I'll take that. I'll try that. I'll try it, Paula. I'll give it a go. I'm not quite convinced, but I'll try it. But then she went too far. Then she goes, if you think you're sexy. As you move around that bed, start clapping your hands like you just don't care.
Oh gosh. I see them in the club though. They're dancing and she's like, if you think, if you love yourself, throw your hands in the air. Now if you think you're sexy, clap your hands. It's all about like being in the club to me in that moment. But
well, okay, in the club, I will go back and listen to it in the context of a club. But I can guarantee if you followed this instruction manual in the bedroom, she's out of the bed and she's in a cab within 15 seconds. I can tell you.
Oh my God.
It's just not happening. It really isn't. First of all, the hands in the air, she's going, okay. And then you started to clap your hands like she's out of there. You're done. You're cooked.
It's also the one that if your parents are around, you have to like quickly, get up and skip this one. Yeah. Because it gets a little, there's definitely a heavy sexual interlude, like toward the 3/4 the way through.
Tell us about that. I can't quite recall it. How sexual?
It's not parent friendly. It's just a bunch of like, it slows down. It gets real breathy and she starts to like coo and, I guess, get off. So
it reminds me of Throb by Janet.
Yeah, it turns explicit basically, and I think she was trying like I'm not that good girl anymore type of thing.
Can I stand up for parents here? Like that we've had sex and we don't mind and we're not scandalized that easily. Like you don't have to skip it. We've been there. And
my parents were conservative though.
Doesn't matter. Like they were still there. Like, come on.
I didn't have a cool parent like you, too.
Yeah.
Believe me, Megs would not describe me like that.
Sometimes amateurs know best. And the lack of professionalism is all you'll hear on the Time to Talk show. Join Tim and his panel of guests as they wade their way through a range of news, music, and pop culture treats. Time to Talk, the show hosted by amateurs for unprofessional listeners.
The album asks you to completely surrender to Paula's personality, right? And she has a lot of silliness. She's has a lot of fun. There's a lot of those different sides to her that if you're not willing to commit, then you're just going to be like, this is cheesy. I can't. Or you can dive in and like really go there with her, which is what I did. I don't know.
I'm not gonna take this song as an instruction manual to the bed. I'm just gonna take it as an instruction manual for the club.
Okay.
Because I don't think this would work in the bed.
No, it wouldn't. I can assure you of that. Oh, wow. But anyway, at least if people haven't heard it, they're intrigued now. You've got to go and listen to it. I listened to this. In fact, this is one of the tracks I will go and listen to again. Track 7, The Choice Is Yours.
Yeah, this is an okay song for me. It's not one I like. It's only one I listen to when I'm listening to the album in full more so. I need to be in the mood for this, I find more so. But it's like a very 90s R&B type of slow jam.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like the R&B stuff it's just not my taste as much. So that's just a side of the album that I think I respect, but it's just not going to be the ones I listen to the most.
Hoedown. Now, when I saw the title, I was really worried, and my worries were confirmed when I listened to it.
No, this is a great song.
This is actually one of Paula's favorites, I think, off this album, because she wished she made this into a single. She said it actually recently on Instagram last year that she wishes she made this song a single.
Well, I understand that because she's a heavily medicated woman. This is silly. This is eccentric. It's got a 50s horn throughout the whole thing. It's fun. It is fun. And that's what pop's all about. So I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. Now, at least it didn't have a country twang. Thank God for that.
Oh, I love the lyrics in this. The lyrics are so amazing in this, and they're really fun to like recite. And I have a friend, I'm not going to do it on this podcast, Tim, so don't get any ideas. But I have a friend that he would always like want to spit these lyrics, and I will join in and stuff. But they're amazing lyrics.
This is one of my favorite tracks off the album. I love that it's also sonically so interesting. It, like you said before, it like has those like 50s like horn and stuff, and I think it's one of the more experimental songs. And I go back to this one all the time, and I wish I could only imagine a music video for this.
Wow. It sounds like you have both replicated this in your homes with choreography.
I definitely. I've tried to figure out what that would be and everything. Usually when I think of this album, it involves the cane from Crazy Cool. I brought it back here, and I feel there's a way to do that. So.
That was a private moment, Tim. You weren't supposed to see me when I was doing that.
Yeah, it's very graphic, very graphic. Okay. Under the Influence. Now, I would say how dare she, because Kylie has a song called Under the Influence, but Kylie's Under the Influence is from some guy who I shouldn't say some guy. He's very famous. It just escapes me right now. So yeah, Under the Influence. Look, first of all, it's not related to the rest of the track, but the very first few bars of this remind me so much of a Tina Arena song. In fact, it's almost identical. Someone needs to tell me. It was driving me nuts. I was wondering if it was If I Didn't Love You. Just the very first, not even 2 seconds. It's exactly the way some song by Tina opens. But look, then it takes a funky twist. This is not bad, but I have to say it is one of the most repetitive pop songs I've ever heard. One of the big flaws of a pop song is never let the ear get tired. You take a twist, you take a turn, come back to that awesome chorus, if, in the best case scenario. Here, she does not follow that rule. This is so repetitive. If she says whatever the line is one more time, in my notes, I've got, if she says it one more time, I'm turning it off. That's all I wrote while I was under the doona.
this was a favorite of mine as a kid. I don't know why, but when I first heard the album, I gravitated to this one, maybe because it was less R&B. But then hearing it older, I'm like, why did I love this song so much? I think it's a good song, but it's not a favorite on this album for me. But there's elements in there that are really cool, like certain moments and stuff that are really neat.
There's parts of it that feels like a Nirvana song or like a grunge rock type of song, and it feels like there's like chanting going on and stuff. And I but it's repetitive lyrically, which is why I understand why people don't like it, but I still go back to the song every now and then, but it's only for like a limited time.
Written by somebody called Worthy Davis. Not so worthy, Davis, I'm afraid. So, sorry, that's completely dad joke, and you don't have to laugh. I never knew it. Now, tell me, here's a further image for you. I'm nestled into my pillow by this stage, completely content, like a big cinnamon donut, wrapped up and all nice. I never knew it comes on. Bolt Upright. Did I hear Paula make a swear at the beginning of this or not? Like, it's a sweet little song and you wouldn't expect it, but does she use the F-bomb slightly near the beginning of this song or not?
No, I don't think so. Does she? No.
No, I don't remember that actually.
Maybe
I
I was
didn't
dreaming.
interpret it as
This is quite embarrassing then, because I went, what the hell? Did she just like use the F-bomb quite harshly? Okay, fair enough. She doesn't.
but it's a cute song overall. It's not everyone's cup of tea, I understand, but I need to go listen back because I don't think she did it like an F-bomb
No,
on this, and I don't see why she would on this song.
she has like a hard F, and maybe now that's hard for me to believe or something like that, maybe toward the beginning, but yeah, so it's one of the ones that I don't remember when I think of the album.
Yeah, I understand that, and it's like there's already like so many ballads on the album that it's just sort of it's not one of the ballads that stands out. It sounds like another song we've already heard.
Get your groove on. Now, this is good. I like this one.
Yeah, this is so much fun. I feel like this could have been a single for sure.
Yeah.
I feel it's like a more developed version of Sexy Thoughts because I feel
Yeah.
like Sexy Thoughts was the preview show and this is the main show. This is the real deal. So it's like more developed and everything.
You're waiting for it to take off and it never quite does. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Missing You. This is a soft song and absolutely 100% could have been off Danny's debut album. It would have fit perfectly on there. What do you make of Missing You? It's okay.
I like it a lot. It's probably my favorite of these last tracks that we're going to talk about. And it makes me, some of the ballads are kind of similar. Like you have If I Were Your Girl, and then you have Missing You, and then you have Cry For Me. And all three of those are similar theme and also similar like tempo and similar instrumentation. So I think that's kind of not the best strategy maybe, but
Yeah.
I think of those three, Missing You and or of the four that are ballady, If I Were Your Girl and this one, Missing You, are my favorites.
The second last track on the album is called It's All About Feeling Good. And it's interesting that you sort of say that the second half of this album is stacked with the poorer product, because I really like this is the one that I would have the whole order of this album is totally out of whack. Totally. I wish they'd reordered it. But anyway, this one for me should have been the track 3.
This is again one, like you said, Chad, this is one that I don't really care for either. It's one I skip. And just because I find it to be very basic, and I'm just compared to the rest of the album where there's more infused experimental elements in each of the songs.
Right.
This one I'm just tired at this point, and I don't know if it's just because we're on track number 13. If this was maybe at a different part of the album,
maybe you're right, Tim. They should have put this in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a groove. It definitely is like a good time to listen to it. But for me, it's almost like it never takes off, or maybe it's just the whole R&B thing that is not my thing as much. But yeah,
I think they shouldn't have put it between two ballads.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
that's interesting because even though I think it's completely wrong, what they were trying to do is your classic 80s, 90s pop strategy, which is have quite an upbeat second last song and then finish off with something soulful and meaningful, which brings us to Cry For Me, the last track. This is Janet mixed with Olivia Newton-John, and I'm going to, in a minute, play the part of the song that is right out of another track that is really familiar to me, but I can't nail it, so I'm going to get you guys to help me. But I really like this. I think it's a great ending for the song. It sounds like you're both not too big a fans of this one, though.
Not for me personally. I think it's kind of an unfortunate title a little bit. I don't know. I mean, that could just be me, but I don't like the title of the song. And then the actual song itself, I think it's just an inferior ballad to those other ones for me.
I think I actually enjoy this as a closer because I find lyrically this is about spiritual growth. Like it's about you no longer crying for someone else, but you're going to cry for yourself now and worry about you instead of worrying about someone else. When you are like deeply in love with someone, you only worry about their emotions, but you forget yourself. So I find that this is a good way to end because it's talking about spiritual growth.
We just passed the bit too. Baby, I love you. That part.
Oh.
It's out of Greece or something. God, it's annoying. Baby, the lines of the other song I'm thinking of are "Baby, I love you." Na, 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 na.
I think I know
From
what
the
you're
70s
talking
or
about,
something.
though.
It's definitely a 70s track. I think it might be males. It might be like the Bee Gees. Anyway, I will solve that puzzle because that is only a personal Tim puzzle that nobody needs to be bored with in the podcast. That's for sure. My question to you both is this: what do you think of the cover? Because like I say, I've never seen this album in a record shop. I've never heard it. I've never had anything to do with it. I love the cover. I think it's great.
I think it's beautiful. I love the
Body
black
language,
and white.
by the way, body language much? If there's any
Yeah.
Kylie people listening.
I definitely see that, actually.
Yeah. Well, this was first, though, right? Let's be clear.
Oh, now listen, you
Yeah.
didn't have to point that out, Chad. That's
Yeah.
being mean.
Yeah, but no, I love it too. And I love that black and white. It's extremely graphic. Like you have that high contrast. And I think she's showing off what is hopefully she's sort of broadcasting that she's in great shape, but that she's also healthy in that area mentally and physically.
She
for the first time,
loved
maybe
this
so.
stuff, didn't she, though, Chad? The
Yes.
What am I trying to
Silhouette?
The silhouette stuff, but I'm more talking about that construction site type of deal.
Yeah,
Yes.
you get a little bit of that in Cold Hearted when they're all dancing on the structure that looks like that.
And in many
yeah.
of her live performances, there's that. And plus, you see it taken up by Janet to a lesser extent too. This, because I'm not a very masculine guy, I'm trying to struggle with this, but like the mechanical, construction-y, tradey type of deal. They both
Industrial.
That's the word. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, she makes the most of it. It's not just a backdrop for her. This is her theatre. It's her stage. The
Right.
industrial stuff, isn't it? She often is.
Yeah.
Madonna does a bit of that in American Life performance on the Confessions tour, I think it is. Yeah, it's quite a
Yeah.
popular theme.
She definitely looks beautiful. It's definitely a beautiful cover. But for me, I always like when it's way more about like the glamour and the face and stuff like that. And you can't really get that from an image like this. So that's why I kind of like, I think Spellbound is one of my favorite covers because like you're so drawn into her face and her eyes. And here it's a way more, it's a peaceful expression she has, but it's also a little blank. So I don't know.
Yeah, and a little bit maybe. I know it's slightly pre-Botox days, but you're wondering she's got a little bit of something going on there. I've got a question about the cover though that you can both help me with. I hope. Why are one of her socks falling off?
Is it?
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that, to be honest.
it's like somebody.
I don't
like
think so.
if one of my kids went out the door like that, I'd go, "Stop! Hang on a second. Come back. Pull up your socks." That's embarrassing.
It's hard to tell. You can see she has like her leotard or whatever she's wearing ends, before her ankle, and then she might have like dancer shoes on or something.
Give us your summaries.
She's performed Crazy Cool and My Love Is For Real, I believe,
Yes.
recently on her residency in 2019, 2020. So she still holds those songs close. It's my favorite because it's a weird album that you don't know what it is, and you just have to keep listening and listening to it over again to have a different interpretation of it. And that's what I love. And I love all the experimental past music influences as well.
Yeah, so I love this album, of course, but I definitely, now that we've gone track by track, it does seem like there's songs, like only half of it that I really gravitate to. I also think she's at the top of her vocals, right? I think Forever Your Girl is good, and then Spellbound is better, and then this is her best work vocally, and I think it's the last time that she was able to legitimately sing this well, due to trauma and injury and all that stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, and listen, I'm so appreciative that you both got me onto this, because much as I've said it's a little bit generic, and I think it is, it's still great. Like, this is a good pop offering to the pop gods, as we say here in the Fortress. It really is. This is a really good effort. It's fun, doesn't take itself too seriously.
I just want to say that I feel like they could have supported her more, like the studio and stuff, or the record company, and I think at this point she was not cool anymore. Like, she just wasn't considered to be culturally cool, and she had waited several years to make this, and I think people had moved on in a lot of ways from what she was doing, and so I feel like they were kind of like letting it flop a little bit.
What would you have titled the album if you could have picked an album track to title it?
I think it would have been interesting if it was one of those two songs, My Love Is For Real or Crazy Cool, because then you could have really gone in certain directions with like the theming and the promotion for it.
I agree, like Crazy Cool, just because of the personality that there is within the album itself and the experimentation. Because this album is crazy.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. And so I think that would fit it perfectly.
And for me, I would have went with Paula straddling a hay bale, and it would have been called
At least it's not politics, so.
No.
That's so bad, isn't it? Paula.
Terrible.
Oh, dear. That's been fun, my friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
It was a grand return for Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have to do Spellbound now. I'm going to hold it to it.